right, what's your last name?
Piotr.
Piotr?
Yep, as in sea otter with the P.
With a Piotr?
Sea otter with the P, yep.
So I'm here. I'm going to do this a couple of times because I forget what I'm supposed to say in the
Not a
beginning.
problem.
So, and if there are pauses between questions, that's fine because it makes it easier to edit.
Okay, great.
So Gregory Dalpiaz, editor-in-chief of Snooth, here with Aaron Piotr. Hey Aaron, how are you?
Good.
So we're high above the Alexander Valley, high above Sonoma County here.
That's correct, 900 feet elevation.
900 feet elevation. And where exactly are we?
The very north end of Alexander Valley.
And what are we looking at behind us?
We're looking at the Russian River, which winds its way through the Alexander Valley, and at the very mouth of Dry Creek Valley, where the Alexander Valley meets the Dry Creek Valley.
And where at the high, looks like the highest point of part of Ferrerari Carano's estate properties, right?
Absolutely.
Where are we? What do we call this?
We call this the, what do we call this mountain?
Prevail Mountain Ranch.
Yeah, it's just
Prevail Mountain Ranch. Okay. It's a secret, a little known fact on Prevail Mountain Ranch.
No, our owner,
Rock Rise.
is this Rock Rise?
This one's Rock Rise.
Okay, she gave it fictitious names, which I can never remember. So, what do you want to call this? Just our winery mountain estate?
You're editing this part out, right?
Of course.
Probably.
Of
Yeah,
course.
it's getting a little long and boring at this point.
Yeah. Rock Rise, our mountain winery estate.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, start over. Do that part over.
Okay.
So we're here at the highest point of Ferrari Carano's estate. Where are we exactly?
We are on one of two mountain ranches that Ferrari Carano owns in the Alexander Valley, and this is Rock Rise Estate.
And how high up are we?
We're at about 900 feet right now.
900 feet. And we're surrounded by vineyards. What vines are planted?
This hillside is almost exclusively Cabernet Sauvignon. There's a bit of Syrah, but Cabernet really thrives at the higher elevation.
And what wines are you making with this Cabernet?
This will be Ferrari Carano Cabernet on the lower slopes of the mountain, and Trésor as we gain elevation, and at the very top of the ranch would be our back 40 Cabernet.
So let's talk a little bit about elevation. Why is elevation important and how does it express itself in the wines?
It's pretty simple to think about the bottom of the ranch having more soil and better water holding and nutrient holding capabilities, so it has slightly bigger berries. So a little bit less, a little bit more juice, a little bit less skin, so really pretty elegant Cabernets. As you go up the ranch, the soil gets thinner, more rocky soil, the berries get smaller, a little more intense skins. Then as you get to the highest elevation, where it's virtually pure rock up here, we get tiny berries, intense skins, very little juice, and these over-the-top extracted wines. So as you go up, less crop per acre, more expensive bottle of wine too.
There you go. And another thing, I mean, it's a great time to be here this morning because we can see the fog is rolling out, and it looks like we're pretty much above the fog level here.
Yeah, there's two types of fog that roll through the Alexander Valley. The low-lying valley, sort of river fog, we clearly sit above. The fog ceiling here is about 600 feet. And we sit well above that. When we get our real thick and everybody's inundated in the heavy bogged down fog, that goes up to about 1,500 feet. So we're barely peeking through it.
Yeah,
and
you're
we can
stuck
just
in
see
it.
that we can see the clarity through the top of it. Yep.
Do you have a longer growing season up here because of the lesser fog?
We do have a longer growing season, and we certainly need it. The higher elevation, it gets a little cooler. We're pretty far north. And what we need is that added warmth at night. So while it's cooler in the valley floor, it's warmer up in the hills at night. We need that warmth to get our full ripeness.
To push you across the finish line. And you just
Correct.
crossed the finish line last weekend. This is Tuesday, October 22nd, 2013.
Yep.
And you just finished harvesting last weekend.
We did. We finished on Saturday, and with this weather, we could have gone on almost indefinitely, but we gained some incredible ripeness over the last few weeks, being mid-80s through late October is fantastic.
So what are your first impressions of 2013 as a Cabernet vintage?
As a Cab vintage, overall, it was a fantastic vintage. Started about on time. Our earlier varieties, it was an early year in general. Cabernet hung in there nicely. And the thing that really came through for Cabernet is a low to mid 80 degree day in October is almost like a 95 degree day in September.
Sure.
And really, as the leaves start to yellow, some of the leaves start to fall, we get that intense warmth, which mid 80s in October is fantastic. So the October weather having 80s just is absolutely ideal.
And what kind of a style of wine are you trying to craft for Ferrari Carano, or is it a different style for different bottlings of Cab?
Yeah, our bottlings vary in style, from a very varietal fruit, aromatic, and flavor profile for our Ferrari Carano Cabernet to more of a texture-based Cabernet and extraction and more of a mouthfeel, sort of the big boy Cabernet, sort of an intense cab when you get to Trésor and our Prevail wines. That's what we're searching for here on these mountain ranches. And this year, we not only get sugar ripeness with great weather, but we also get tannin development. So we have really soft, we have tons of tannin, but it's nice and soft.
Nice and ripe.
Absolutely. Beautifully ripe tannins this year.
Are there any viticultural issues that are unique to mountain farming that those guys on the floor don't have to face?
Yeah, certainly. Up here for us, it's all about, they talk about balance in the vine up here. For us, it's a very low crop load, so a very small crop load.
How many tons per acre
we're talking about 1.5 to 2 if we're lucky.
That's very low.
There's so little soil up here and so little water and nutrient holding capacity to our soil, you just can't ask very much of the vines. In the valley floor, you can have bigger crop, it still gets ripe at an appropriate time. Up here, because of the longer, cooler season, we just can't ask that much from the vines. So it's a challenge up here. It costs twice as much to farm up here, and yet you have half as much crop.
To explain some of the pricing.
Absolutely.
Some of the pricing
Absolutely.
for some of the wines, absolutely. The vines are slowly changing color. One of the most beautiful times to come to any wine growing region is this autumn when the leaves are changing. Can you tell us a little bit of, these are Cabernet vines, they're still green, turning a little yellow. You have some very yellow vines, some red vines out there. Can you tell us, are those different varieties? Is there a virus involved that's causing some color change? What's happening out there?
Yeah, usually the more pretty and vibrant reds and oranges typically will mean a virus or something that's got significant age to it. For us, we held pretty good green canopy this year, but because of the length of the season, we knew the vines were stressed. It was basically a drought year. We've had very little rain this year. You can almost see a vineyard the day after it's picked, just sort of let out a sigh of relief, give up the ghost, and the leaves virtually turn from green to yellow overnight. So it was amazing to see the valley floor as it's picked just change color almost instantaneously.
My job is done. The vine says, I'm done.
Exactly.
I have nothing left to do. I'm going to sleep for a couple of months.
Yep.
It certainly is a beautiful location, and I'd love to go inside and try some of the wines that these vines have produced.
Well, let's head inside.
Fantastic.